shit. That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
There is power outside of you, but also there is power inside of you. They are one and the same. Welcome to Author Jam, everyone, the show where we create literary music together. This is a quote from one of the books of our next guest, Laura Saltman. For those of you not familiar with Laura, she is a mindfulness, meditation, and metaphysical teacher, in addition to being an Emmy-nominated producer and correspondent. She is a conscious channel who has written or co-created several books on spiritual principles and conscious raising tips, tricks, and techniques through a voice called The All. Now, Laura has literally channeled her energy into writing a series of 3 books called The All of Everything, A Spiritual Guide to Inner World Domination, The All of the All, and The All That Is. Her goal is to lead others to truth by transforming their own lives through connection to our metaphysical intelligence. Fascinating, right? I am so eager to get started. In a moment, we will be back with Laura.
I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place.
Oh my gosh, and we are back, and I can't tell you how excited I am. I am here with Laura Saltman. How are you, Laura?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh gosh, it has been such a pleasure. You know what? I have been watching you for years, and I watched your website. I've watched you on Facebook, and I got to meet you, I think it was last year, wasn't it? I got to meet you at a meeting called Conscious Co-op, and you are so warm and so inviting and an incredible author.
Thank you. It's funny when people say that I'm an author, because it's like, I'm not, though. Like, I'm the writer of these books, but really the downloads, the information were coming from this other part of me. So it's funny, because if you told me I would write a book 20 years ago, I would have told you were crazy. I have no interest in that. But sometimes the things come through you and you sort of don't have that much control over it. So that's kind of what happened to me.
Oh, you know what? It's interesting. And for viewers out there, if you don't know Laura's story, I mean, the books truly did come to her. They were channeled to her, which I find incredibly intriguing, Laura, because you and I felt when I was writing my book, like that was happening as well. So can you describe, your first book, which is right here, everyone. I have it right here, her first book. When you were just embarking on writing this first book, what did you hear? What you knew you had to write it. Am I correct?
Well, I started as a journal. So I had, right before I decided that it was going to be a book, I had been listening to Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And in that book, if you read it or listen to it, which I did both actually, he says so many times, everything that I can do, you can do as well. And so I always had that in my mind, like, well, Neil says, anybody can do this work. Anybody can channel. Anybody can talk to God, or whatever you decided to call that. Energy that ignites everything. And so I just started noticing that in my journaling that I was sort of getting those answers back. And I'd always been a little bit of what I thought was an intuitive, a medium in my 20s and into my early 30s. So I knew there was something about me that was a little not different, but certainly not separate, but different. And so I started it as a journal, and I just started writing and writing and writing. And after about maybe 60 pages of this journal with my own personal questions and answers coming back to me, I started realizing that I was starting to really get a true look at what life is all about, why we're all here, and how we could be living our life. And that's when it just came to me like, I feel like this isn't just for me, as embarrassing as some of my questions are inside of the book, but it's for everybody to know or shall I say remember. It's for everybody to remember, who we are, why we're here, how to, utilize the laws of the universe, what can we do better in our lives to live a more joyous life. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm just going to have to figure out how to share this book, even though I never meant to be an author and I don't know anything about publishing. So I just went for it.
I'm so glad you did too. I mean, how exciting. And if I can share with you, when I was writing my book, there was several times, and maybe you can relate to this, that I almost had aha moments where I'm like, I get that now. I totally get that now. So I am curious. Let's talk about your first book, The All of Everything. Did you have an aha moment when you were writing this book?
Yes. So the aha moment, I think it's on page 131 in the print book.
You even know the page.
Yes, because I've been asked this many times, and I know what that moment was for me, where I finally realized that I was definitely not the one writing this book because I couldn't think that way, didn't know that way. And those aha moments came throughout all 4 of my books and continue to this day. I had an aha moment in the car when I was like thinking about something, and I call them divine downloads. The divine downloads we all have access to. It's just at what level are you vibrating to get those downloads. So that moment for me was, we were talking about the word intuition and institution, and how they're so close in phrasing and meaning. And one means to break free the thoughts from within, and the other is to be imprisoned by your thoughts. It gives me chills right now, actually, to say that. But that was the moment, because I would have never thought of that, but it made so much sense. Like, yeah, intuition, breaking free your thoughts, institutionalized, making us go within, and how we call mental institutions that very word, because we've locked ourselves in that mental prison. And then from there, I felt like my writing got faster, it got clearer, it was easier to hear, and then it just kept going and going and going. And I had millions of questions I wanted to ask, and I think maybe I've asked 500 of my million questions so far in my 4 books. And I still have questions, Shelley, because we'll never stop learning.
Yeah.
Never. When you go on this journey, you will never stop learning. Things will always come to you. Those divine downloads will come to you.
And I love that term, divine downloads. I think that is just fabulous, because you are absolutely right. I mean, when we quiet our mind, when we take those times in our day where we close our eyes, take some deep breaths, I will speak from my standpoint. There are divine downloads. There are things that those hard things that you go through your day where you're like, you want to, pull your hair out. All of a sudden, they don't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. Do you find that too?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a choice too. It's a choice to take that centering pause, to say like, wait a minute, something's triggering me, whether it's a physical trigger, whether it's an emotional trigger. It's like, I would say it's like light posts shining at you, like pay attention. There's something going on that you need to deal with. Now, most of us live our lives very unconsciously, and so we take all these things that are happening to us and then we just deal with them, right? So I don't do that anymore. I know enough now that when I have those flashing signs that I say, oh, okay, wait a minute, I need to pause. I know I need to do the inner work to heal this. Sometimes that inner work can be instantaneously, or it can take a couple of hours, and then you get back into a rhythm. And then sometimes the things that are triggers for us are triggers from our childhood, repressed memories, past lives, that we really need to dig deep in. So I do that work every day. And sometimes it's the quick work, and sometimes it's the, I know I need to dig really deep right now.
Right. It's interesting. And I mean, and looking at the books here, the second book for everyone that is out there is The All of the All. So, there's one common theme, Laura, and I know that viewers out there are probably picking up on this already, is the all. So can we talk about that for a second? What is the all, and why is it important to you?
So the word the all I had no meaning to me, other than I was writing this and decided it was a book. And then at the end of the book, it said, in fact, in the book, you'll see the page where it comes. It says, we would call this book The All of Everything. I was like, okay, I guess we're calling it The All of Everything. And then as I got to the end of the book, then it was, okay, we're writing another book. Oh, great. Okay, we're writing another book. What's that called? That one's going to be called The All of the All. And then throughout the 2 books, the term are used, the all that is, the all of everything, because they all represent the same thing. And that is that source energy that we all come from, that divine mind, creator, whatever you've decided you want to call that for yourself. And so that's how it came to me. And then my son, who also I'm sure is going to be an intuitive, said to me one day at the dinner table, after I'd written these other books and I was in the middle of now writing another book, he said, I think your next book is going to be called Wisdom of the All. And I was like, oh, okay. And it just made sense. And so he was getting his divine download, then he handed it to me, and then that's how the other book. And so it became very clear that the all was going to be sort of my brand of the universe, just as like the law of attraction is their brand. And I feel like all of us have that within us, who are called to do this, who are called to speak. We all have a sort of thing, like yours is Author Jam, right? And you're giving voice to authors from all walks of life, including a lot of us in this, sort of, as you would call it, new age community. And that's your service in the world. So that was just my service in the world, that I was meant to write the all.
That's wonderful. You know what? I think that is so inspiring. And, I really take that to heart, because you're right. We all have unique gifts. We all have those divine downloads. And you're right. You kind of touched on it earlier. It's a choice on whether we listen or not. And I am just curious, with all of the books that you have written, you've written the 3 books. We're going to put them up for everybody to see. You're also writing right now a 4th book. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Writing the books, has it taught you any personal lessons?
It's taught me everything. Every lesson has been, it's all in my books. Trust me, like I don't have a filter. So there's a lot of very personal, intimate stuff in there. But I left it in because I wanted whoever found these books to know that, first of all, we're all going through the same things. And second of all, that here's the answers. If you have that question, then the answer is right here for you to decide, if it resonates with you. But I mean, I'm learning lessons every day. I'm learning lessons with everything that I've written, every journal I've written, and I still journal even if I'm not putting it into the books. And so everything that I teach out in the world, and I do a lot of I teach a Monday night class called Mindfulness, Meditation, and Metaphysics. And even in my guided meditations that I do, it all comes from these books. Everything is from the books. And do I get more downloads, like without having it written down? Absolutely. That stuff comes to me. But the profoundness of the books has absolutely transformed my life. And I don't read them as just like I wrote them and I'm done with them. I go back and I read them. I've read these books probably 20 times. My next book, Wisdom of the All, it's taken me 2.5 years to write, and I've probably read it 5, 6, 7 times already before I even sent it to the copy editor. So I use what's in these books to inform my own life.
That's wonderful. And you know what? It's funny because I knew we were going to embark on this interview, and I wanted to read more. And, I know you, but I wanted to get to know you better, right? And I was just so heartwarmed by some of the reviews that I pulled up about you. I mean, you're definitely impacting, the books you're writing, they all are impacting lives, which I find commendable. They are. And so I'm wondering, do you have any success stories, or even one, without names, of course, that you could share with us where someone has read the series and is doing fabulous?
Yes, I do. I mean, I have a lot of those. I have a friend who has read all of my books, and if I showed you the books, she got out her highlighter and she highlights things, and then she goes back. And what I think is so brilliant, because I do this too in other people's books, because we're always learning, like both student and teacher. She would write her own notes, like she would listen for her own messages and then write on top of that. So I think that's amazing. I have a friend out in California who I'm like her therapist. So she always is texting me, asking me like, what should I do? And then I use my divine download to tell her. And I always say, like, that's your answered prayer. Like when you're asking for help and you come to me, I'm helping you through you. Like we're both helping each other. So lots of people use me that way. And absolutely, I know that the books have transformed their lives. And I feel like the next book that I'm doing, The Wisdom of the All, is the one that is the most sort of mainstream, that most people will resonate with, because the first 3 are more of like a Q&A style, but this next one is like a guidebook. It's got a workbook in the back. It's got exercises, like the universe is saying like, okay, here's your exercise for today. Get out a piece of paper and let's go deep. And so it's a really interesting way. So I'll be interested to answer that question after that book comes out, to see people who have done the exercises and to see what comes up for them.
It's interesting too, especially, I mean, as you know, Author Jam is for a variety of different types of authors. So I can only imagine that we have viewers out there, and I welcome all viewers that are out there, but we have viewers out there that resonate with the spiritual realm and the concept of the all. And then there are there's a separate variety that are open to it but have not been exposed to it. So for those that are open but really haven't been exposed to it, what can they expect from reading even the first book?
I think it's just a different way of looking at life. I think, we have our ideas via religion, science, our own intuition of what the world is all about and what the universe is all about. And I took that same skepticism into the books, and I think that's what makes this books interesting, is that I didn't take anything at face value. Everything that was being told to me, I was like, okay, sorry, but I don't believe that. That's BS. Like, that's crazy. I'm sorry. So I go into it very, very skeptical. And so that's what I think is interesting about it. And the things that were said to me, I wasn't like, oh my God, of course this is true. I really question it. That's why it's taken me 4 books to really get to that level of belief. And, everybody's on their own journey, Shelley, and everybody is in a place learning what they need to learn at sort of their chosen level. And if it doesn't resonate, then it's not your time, and that's okay. Find things that work for you. So maybe it's not the sort of new age spirituality, but find a book about mindset, just changing your mindset, because the science behind meditation and mindfulness and how it physically changes you inside your brain, like it literally changes your brain structure. Find those things, because that is equally as important, and that might be better for you than this. And so if it resonates for you, amazing, go read books like that. And if it doesn't, just find things. Anything that's going to change you at your core that you feel called to is for a reason.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So wonderful. And actually, there was a few people that I told that I was interviewing you, and they had questions for you. Are you game?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay,
all right, let me get into my divine download stage to make sure that I am co-creating answers for you.
Okay. The first question is from Alexa, and Alexa asks, do you truly believe that we are all one? We're going to pop up the question here.
Do I believe that we are all one? It's an interesting concept, because I'm constantly writing that phrase, all is one, one is all. We've heard a lot more about this. And what I understand it now to be, the answer is yes, that I do believe that and it's in my book, and it says, you are you and I am me, but we are also we. So what that says is that we are all individual. We have their individual soul, right? And we have our own thoughts, and we've been given free will to think whatever we want to. But then there is this spark of magic, a divine mind that we have come from, so we can tap into that divine mind. So everything I know, you know. Everything you know, I know. Everything Shelley knows. We all know the same things within us. And it's just, how do we tap into that? So that oneness, that unity is recognizing that there is no separation. And in fact, if you take a microscope and you break things down on a quantum level, and if you talk to physicists, we're all made up of the same thing. Like, take a little magnifying trillions of times, and we're just dust and particles and matter floating around. So it's not only a new age concept, a spiritual concept, it's also science as well, the unity. And if more of us could understand our unity and really accept that we truly are one thing, separated into individual minds and individual things here, we would live so much differently on this planet.
Awesome answer. I love that. Actually, you just mentioned something that leads into the second question from a viewer. It's about science. And she says, Laura, I am open to the concepts that are in your books, but I have naysayers that are around me that say that it is not, in quotes, scientific. So what should I do? How should I address that?
Well, the beautiful thing is that science is going to be catching up with all of this, and it's starting to. So it's like little dribs and drabs are out there. So if you go seeking further, you will find that science is starting to begin to recognize and understand the mind and body and even soul connection. So it sort of baby steps into mind and body. Science is now seeing how our stress affects us, how the things that go on in our brain affect us. And eventually we'll get to a point on this planet, and it may not be now, where we will begin to recognize that sort of spiritual and soul connection. So for me, and I recognize everybody's skepticism, because that's where I started. And it wasn't until I did the inner work to find the connection, and it wasn't until I started working with clients one-on-one, talking with people who were in hospice, and really seeing the proof for myself. Like, I needed proof too, right? I needed my own proof. I have had so much proof over the last 7 years. I could write thousands of pages of the signs, the messages, the clients. Like, for me, I'm on the opposite side of it, where I look back and I'm like, you silly humans, you have no idea. You don't know. But I totally bless, honor every skeptic out there, because I was you and I totally get it. And just be okay with it. It's okay to be a skeptic. It's okay to listen to science. Do what feels good to you, because that's your journey.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, you know what? I could talk to you forever. You know that, right? This has been such an engaging conversation. So, for people out there who are watching us and watching this interview, and they're just about to hit that click button to order your book, or your first book, or the series of the books, you know, is there any words of wisdom that you would impart on them as far as their journey in life and how to live a healthy, vibrant spiritual life?
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so I always tell people to find what speaks to you. And I mean, books would come to me, things would come to me and show up to me, because I had that unconscious intention that I wanted to learn. And so when you're ready, the things will resonate. So if it resonates for you, then absolutely buy it. There are books that I bought, like A Course in Miracles, I bought it and then I sent it back and I was like, nah, it's not for me. And then 1.5 years later, I rebought it because I was ready for it. So when you're ready, it's there for you. And then I think the thing that I would impart is to just question everything. Questions are the lifeblood of who we are. The more that you question who you are, question what's going on in your body, question what's speaking to you, question, is that a sign or a message for me? Is that my loved one crossover trying to get in touch with me? Just keep questioning, because when you ask, you will receive, right? And it may not be exactly the way that you thought. It might come through your own thoughts. It might come in a message or a sign. It might come in a conversation. It might come in an interview like this. When you ask, eventually you receive. So just keep asking the big questions of life.
That is so true. And like you said, when we're learning and we're open like that, we are growing. Mm-hmm. And when we're growing, I mean, we're so happy.
Yeah.
And what a world that would be if everyone was in that mindset. That's the way I feel about it. How about you?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, here's the thing. If we all knew everything all at once, there is absolutely no reason for us to be here on this planet. So honor everybody wherever they are, and then just look at the journey as that. Like, everyone's here learning, and even the things that are seemingly awful, and this is all in my books, there's a rhyme or a reason to them. And bless your journey. Like, you're here in this physical body for a reason. And so own it, enjoy every experience, because having lost my brother to cancer and my dad to suicide, who one didn't have a choice to stay and the other didn't make the choice to stay, I know that it's a choice. And I get to decide every day when I wake up, am I going to be grateful? Am I going to go run this life, or am I going to let it run me? And I choose to run my life.
Yes, me too. I'm on board with that for sure. So you know what, I am so thankful that you have joined us, and on behalf of the entire Author Jam team here in the studio today, I just want to thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Shelley.
Fascinating show today, very intriguing. Laura is indisputably a leader in her field. I encourage you all to read through her website. There is actually one section in her website that really resonated with me. She said something like this: I can't teach you, I can only remind you of what you have forgotten on the inside, and that is my mission as a soul and now an awakened mind. I am oneness's guide. I have been a guide as much of my life has shown, a moral compass leading others to their truth. Are you ready? And my question to all of you is, are you? Are you ready? It is so incredibly liberating. Until next time, this is Dr. Shelley Plum. Don't forget to visit us on the Dr. Shelley Plum author Facebook page. If you have an idea for an upcoming show, please email us at jan@plumtalkproductions.com. It is the Author Jam goal to highlight authors that are working hard to light up our worlds. Help us support them. Take care, my friends, and keep reading.
that will bring you down.